Hey everybody, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little of insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is AMC Movie News production manager, Dennis Zen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of AMC Movie Talk. A little slow there on the cut there. I've been trying to convince John Schnepp here that Deadly Adoption is a real Lifetime movie happening with Will Ferrell, but he refuses to believe it.
Right. We all know, and when I say we, I mean the general public and all smart people know that there's no way a Deadly Adoption is a real film. It's just it's a gimmick. It's not a real movie.
Well, you obviously know John Schnepp is here, and also here's AMC's Christian Harloff.
I don't know what's going on.
All right, before we get into the first topic, I want to talk about the box office. We kind of have adjusted numbers in for Jurassic World. So Universal is reporting that Jurassic World now holds the title of the biggest domestic opening weekend of all time with $208.8 million over 2012's Avengers 207.4 million. Also, internationally, it also broke records with $315.6 million, which beats WB's Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, which had $314 million. Christian, what do you think about this?
This thing is a beast, pun intended. I was talking about it yesterday. I think that and I was listening to you guys on the show yesterday too. What it is also about this movie is that, and it's similar to what's going to be happening with Star Wars. You got Jurassic Park, which is a movie that changed effects. It changed the way we looked at movies in general, and the sequels were subpar. They were not good. There was something about this movie, Jurassic World, that brought back that hope that you were going to see a movie like that again, because it took place in a park and it wasn't just some kind of a lackadaisical sequel. And there was something about it, like it had, and even for Colin Trevorrow's mentioning of it in interviews, was like, we're going to honor what came before us. And then the trailers came out with the music. So I think people really started to feel that nostalgia again, and that was the point. And it showed in the numbers, but to this magnitude is crazy. No one would have, first of all, guessed that it would have made $200 million, but to beat the Avengers, wow. Also, going off your Star Wars conversation yesterday, it's going to be very hard for them to do that in December, because people who are living in the very cold, it's hard, and storms and stuff, keep people away from the theaters. So that's going to be an obstacle that Star Wars is going to have to deal with. But as far as this movie goes, man, it's shocking that it's the number one of all time.
Yeah, it was a big surprise for me. I mean, I thought, $130 million, but over 200, now the number one biggest box office opening of all time. It's completely shocking. For me, it's kind of the opposite of, we talked about Entourage. Like, that movie kind of came out a year too late, maybe 2 years too late, and it was one of those things where they needed to get it out sooner. This actually benefited from kind of more of the absence makes the heart grow fonder, where we had the third one came out, I think, in 2001. So it's 2002 or something like that.
Was it?
Yeah, it was a while back. So it's been like 13 years since then. And so I think that actually helped, because it's like, okay, people didn't really care much for the two sequels. I mean, some people saw them, but you're right. People wanted to recapture that magic. And I think seeing, this new Jurassic World coming out, they kind of had that awe again. Mm-hmm. And so that's why, I mean, even that still doesn't explain it to me, why it crossed those numbers, but still, I think that's part of it.
You know what? I think that what it is that Jurassic World delivered on what Jurassic Park promised. Mm-hmm. Jurassic Park promised a park filled with dinosaurs, and that's what we all wanted. But it was like, obviously, it never happened, because it's too dangerous, shut it down. And then it's hidden, they're growing other things. And then the third one, look, there's a pterodactyl. So they never opened the park. This one, they opened the park. And you see a giant creature eat a Jaws.
Right.
You're like, oh my God, like that's what I want to see. And that's honestly one of my favorite parts of Jurassic World, was the sequence where the park is open and you're getting the chance to see all these things. You have a petting zoo with Triceratops. I mean, I was a giant dinosaur fan when I was a little kid, and I still love dinosaurs. So that this movie really did it for me, as far as like they show dinosaurs the way that you want to see dinosaurs. And then, you could have some qualms with the Indominus Rex. It's not real or whatever. But, that's part of the whole Jurassic Park thing, is like them putting cells together and genes together and splicing things and playing God. So
And I think that's ultimately how people have to look at it, and how people are looking at it is that this movie is a really fun monster movie. That's really what it is. You can't compare it to the first one for sure. It's different, but it reminds me, if you've ever gone to Universal Studios and there is a Jurassic Park ride, this felt like that ride. To where you do the nostalgia, the music, it's a bit silly at times, but overall, I think that people went in, and that's why those Universal Studio parks do so well. And those that line is so big because, like you said, Schnepp, people wanted to see that park. What was that park? And then you put one of the biggest movie stars on the planet in it right now, coming off of Guardians last year as well. There's a lot to add to it, because someone yesterday is like, "Oh, they couldn't have spent that money and put Jai Courtney in there. That movie would have made $70 million opening weekend." But overall, it's nice.
Christian Harloff, part of the Jai Courtney fan club.
Fan club.
I run it.
I think the president.
I'm going to run it into the ground.
Well, you mentioned Star Wars. I still think it's going to break it's going to break all records.
It's going to be hard though.
It'll become the #1 opening film of all time. It doesn't matter that it's opening at Christmas. It's got snow troopers.
Yeah, so they can make it out and help people get to the theater. That's exactly.
You said Chris Pratt. I say snow troopers. So
it's just so hard weather-wise. I'm telling you, it
it's
really
tough.
keeps being weather-wise, shopping and all that type of stuff.
Family, everything. Really.
Everybody wants to see this new Star Wars movie.
I know, but that's the thing. It also is in such a great real estate as far as being in December and into January. Now it only has like Olympus or London is Falling that's going to have to compete with, and a few other things here and there. It's going to own January. People know that they can go see it throughout a lot of time. So I don't know. It's another conversation.
But it's also got Han and Luke and Chewie.
Listen, everyone's going to see the movie. It's just a matter if they all see it that weekend.
They're going to have to, because I don't want it spoiled.
I'm hoping you're right. I hope it makes $1 billion opening weekend.
All right, let's go on to the first topic.
All right. The Gambit solo film starring Channing Tatum has found its director. Entertainment Weekly is reporting that Rise of the Planet of the Apes director Rupert Wyatt has signed on to helm the X-Men spinoff. The first movie version of Gambit appeared in the 2009 X-Men Origins Wolverine and was played by Taylor Kitsch. However, last spring it was announced that a Gambit solo movie would be coming and that Channing Tatum will be in the starring role. Gambit comes to theaters on October 7, 2016. Dennis, what do you think of Rupert Wyatt directing Gambit?
I think it's a good choice. I didn't see Wyatt's last film, which was the Gambler remake with Mark Wahlberg, but then again, most people didn't anyways. I really liked what he did with the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and even though I liked the sequel more that Matthew Reeves had done, Matthew Reeves' movie wouldn't have been possible without what Wyatt had done with Rise. Like, he laid down the groundwork for it. So, a lot of credit to the sequel comes from the first one. I think he'll be a good fit for Gambit. What do you think, Schnepp?
Yeah, I think, from what he did with Rise of the Planet of the Apes, that's why I feel comfortable with him directing Gambit. I don't know what they're going to do with the Gambit movie, but I like Channing Tatum. I trust, his decision to play Gambit. So he's going to bring some excitement to the role. So it's good to have a very competent director who can handle special effects.
Christian?
I am an Apes guy, as you guys know, and I agree with you, Dennis, 100% that Dawn is the better of the two films, but without Rupert Wyatt's version, you don't have that movie. And for what he did in setting up that world, because it could have been an epic failure. Everybody thought it was going to be, but the way that he did it was great. I did see The Gambler, and I wish I was one of those people who didn't. It's not a good movie. It was very boring. But I guess he was doing that movie with Paramount. He's coming back to Fox now. They like him over at Fox. They wanted him for Dawn. He had signed on for The Gambler. So, maybe he works well in that environment. Maybe, with teaming up with the X-Men team and getting some more, this is more the genre that he should be doing. It seems to me they've wanted Tatum to do Gambit for a very long time. Lawrence Schuler has wanted him to do it forever. They finally got him. I think that he wants to. It's almost like a Ryan Reynolds thing, as to where he really wants to do this character right. So to have Wyatt on there, I think that this could be a really good teaming. I'm very curious to see what these guys come up with.
Yeah, you did mention The Gambler. Like, I would say see the James Caan original Gambler from the 70s. It's well worth searching it out. I think it's on Netflix. It's worth seeing.
Well, what do you guys think about Channing Tatum doing the accent? Because last time we brought this up, people posted in the comments, but he, I think he was either raised or born in Louisiana, and his, he grew up around people who had that accent. That's I'm like, that doesn't necessarily mean that he can do the accent himself. So what do you guys think?
If he can do the accent?
Yeah.
It's funny because, again, I had this conversation yesterday with the same person, and I think he's the type of guy, unlike Halle Berry, who just gave up on Storm's accent. Let's just to make her.
I was glad she gave up on it.
Everybody was, but as we've seen Tatum do I think everybody has the same opinion. He was a guy that nobody took seriously. Now everyone takes him seriously because, strangely enough, because of his comedy turn in 21 Jump Street, then what he's done in Foxcatcher, what he did in Side Effects. So he's a guy that works really hard. I trust that he's going to be a guy that works on it. Now, whether or not that means he's going to nail the accent 100%, he's not going to half-ass it. He'll do it to the best of his ability. Just fingers crossed that it's great.
Yeah, I think he'll brush up on his Shakespeare, so to speak. I think he'll nail it.
Okay. What's next?
Seems like the Crow reboot can't keep a leading man. Names like Bradley Cooper, Tom Hiddleston, Luke Evans have all been attached to the role, and now Boardwalk Empire actor Jack Huston has also left the starring role. Director Corin Hardy released this statement confirming Huston's exit. Jack Huston is unfortunately unavailable to continue with us on The Crow. The Crow is an amazing project, and I am grateful that we have the time and patience to get it right. We look forward to unveiling our new lead and starting to film over the next several weeks. Schnepp, what's your take on Jack Huston's departure, and who would you like to see take up the lead role?
Well, it's always weird when people keep getting replaced, and unfortunately he's unavailable. What happened? Did they just decide to because that's never the truth. We know that. That's never just he's suddenly unavailable after months of talking about we got the Crow, the guy who's going to play the Crow after the other guy left. Now we got him, and then now he's suddenly unavailable. That means somebody's shuffling, and either they lost faith in Jack Huston because he doesn't have Boardwalk Empire anymore. What's he doing? Well, get Nicholas Hoult. He's the next flavor of the month. So I don't know. I mean, it feels like it's whatever that press release is not the truth. I don't know what the truth is, but it feels a little discomforting to know that people keep coming and going on a film that should have been remade like 6 years ago. It just keeps, So I would love to see a new version of The Crow. I'd love to see one that's a lot more faithful to Barr's original take on The Crow. I mean, his comic book. So, we'll see.
Christian?
I think it's the opposite. I think Huston actually has a lot going on right now with Ben-Hur and a bunch of other things, and he's becoming like this guy that people are starting to consider for everything. I think he smartened up and went, this thing stinks. He's like, I'm out of here. And told his agents, get me out of there no matter what you can do. Get me out. I love The Crow, the original one with Brandon Lee. I love that movie. And then they started making every single sequel they wanted to.
And a TV series.
Everything. And directed even just became watered down nonsense. And the property suffered because of it.
Yeah.
So people can't take it serious. I want them to scrap it. I want nothing to do with this property anymore because I like the optimism to where it's like I want to see them make a faithful rendition of this thing. But everything that's happening, everyone has been attached to this and everyone has bailed. It looks like we're going to get something in the theater that you're going to go, ugh, So at this point, just cut your losses. We don't need another Crow movie. We just don't need it.
I won't believe this movie's coming out until I see the first trailer because there's been so much switchover with the lead actors, and I also was a big fan of the Brandon Lee one. Of course, they made I never watched any of those other ones because I knew no one was putting any effort into those. In this case, I'm with you where it's like, I think it's Jack Huston. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to leave. And you have to think about that. Jack Huston, I like him. I loved him on Boardwalk Empire, but he's not a big star yet, right? So he's trying to break through. He's going to be in Ben-Hur, the remake. So the fact that someone who's on his way up decides to leave a franchise and property like this, where he's the starring role, that says a lot about what he thinks about this movie.
It says there's going to be more opportunity. We're getting some great movies right now. Is this the one that's really going to catapult my career? His team's got to be like, no, it's not. There's so many problems with it right now. Get out of there because when a good star breaks out there, it's from doing like these side roles and then starting to take the lead roles. And again, you look at guys like Jai Courtney and Sam Worthington, right? And even Taylor Kitsch for a bit, where the studios are going, that's your movie star. There he is. And the public goes, no thanks. But Taylor Kitsch is doing it right. From Lone Survivor, and now he's going to be in True Detective and doing all these side roles to see the guy can actually act. Now, Jack Huston's a guy that's taking those smaller roles, and now he's starting to get bigger roles. Get away from The Crow, because The Crow is the one that just nobody cares.
And then you had mentioned Nicholas Hoult. Yeah, they're looking at two people, Nicholas Hoult and Jack O'Connell from Unbroken. Those are the two names that have come up. Either one spark your interest?
For me, Nicholas Hoult, and it sounds like, I'm not disagreeing with you guys. I'm just saying that it's not whatever the cover story is.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's either one or the other. Either he left or the flavor of the month thing where they're like, get Holt. He's, so it could be either one of those things. But To me, it's just disappointing because it's like, shouldn't they have already started shooting this like last year? I mean,
Well,
that's
it
just
should have already been made.
Yeah.
I know the pre-production problems.
should be
Believe
making
me,
a sequel.
It takes a long time to get something going. So it's like, I wish everyone on the Crow production crew the best. I want to see. I personally want to see a new version of the Crow.
See, Nick, between either Nicholas Hoult or Jack O'Connell, who was amazing in 71. If you haven't seen 71, don't forget about Unbroken. 71, he was incredible in. Both up and coming actors too. They're going after those types of guys. They both would do great. They're both great actors. I just would say the same thing. Tell your agent to pass.
All right, let's move on to the buy or sell segment. Ashley, what do we got?
Academy Award winner Forrest Whitaker has joined the first Star Wars anthology film Rogue One. He joins the cast of Felicity Jones, Diego Luna, Riz Ahmed, and Ben Mendelsohn, along with director Gareth Edwards. No details on what Whitaker's character or role will be. The Star Wars anthology Rogue One opens on December 16, 2016. Christian Barisel, Forrest Whitaker joining the first Star Wars spin-off film.
This is so weird overall. Not Forrest Whitaker, but because has it even been? Nobody's really been confirmed except Felicity Jones, right? Because everyone's like pretty strongly considered. Even Ben Mendelsohn, who's been considered for months, hasn't said he's been on yet. But the names that they're putting together, yeah, Forrest Whitaker's a buy. Can't you see him around the table having all the rebels come in? And he's like, "This is what we got to hit," and he's going into the whole like just the mission in general. And you can see him yelling at soldiers. You can see him mentoring soldiers. I could see the whole entire thing. I could plan that out with him. He's a big enough. He's a face that you recognize for sure, and know, oh, that's Forrest Whitaker. But it doesn't not big enough to where you're like, oh, I can't take him serious in the Rebel, or maybe he's in the Empire. That'd be interesting. But I think he'd most likely be like a commander in the Rebellion.
It's a big buy for me. I think he's a fantastic actor. I mean, he won his Oscar for Last King of Scotland, but he also was, I don't know if you guys watched The Shield, but he was in the last couple seasons of The Shield, and he was fantastic. I think if let's say all those other actors are in it as well, I think him and Ben Mendelsohn doing a scene together would be awesome. Just the intensity both of them bring, and like the tension. I think a scene with those two together, I can't wait. What about you, Shemp?
I just want him to be a 12-foot alien, and when they have that meeting, I want him to be like, leverage, young human. Where's your breathe mask? Look, he's an Oscar winner, but he was in Battlefield Earth, so
True.
I'm all for his casting of Rogue One, but I just think that he should play an alien that's 12 feet tall with like dreadlocks. So,
and he won't be as distracting as someone like Sam Jackson is.
Right.
Like
Right.
Sam Jackson, for me, in the prequels, like, I like Sam Jackson a
But
lot.
Sam Jackson.
But yeah, he's like, I didn't see Mace Windu. I just saw Sam Jackson.
I would hope that they fit the word leverage in somewhere in his
Right.
dialogue. He was like, look, we just don't have enough leverage.
More leverage.
More leverage.
But I think that because of also what this movie calls for, it's different. Even going back to Samuel Jackson, placing him as a Jedi, it's tough because it's like Samuel Jackson. But placing Forrest Whitaker as like a commander in this, whatever he might be, this is a war film. You can see Forrest Whitaker in a war film, no matter if it's Star Wars or wherever it is. I can see him giving orders. I can see him as a soldier. I can see him doing a lot of stuff. Or I can see him in the Empire. But I'd rather, I think, see him fighting for the rebellion.
Sure.
All right, what's next?
With Pitch Perfect 3 scheduled to come to theaters in 2017, the sequel to the surprise 2015 hit has reportedly gotten the two main stars, Anna Kendrick and Rebel Wilson, to sign on for the third film. Last week, we heard that Pitch Perfect 1 and 2 screenwriter Kay Cannon was on board to pen the next movie, and director of the second film, Elizabeth Banks, is set to produce, but no word on if she's returning to direct this film. Pitch Perfect 3 comes to AMC theaters on July 21st, 2017. Dennis Barisel, the return of Anna Kendrick and Rebel Wilson.
I buy it because for the studio, it's if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's why they're bringing Kay Cannon back to write it. They're bringing back the two main stars for this. But the one thing is kind of telling is they still don't have a director for it. And what does that say about what they thought Elizabeth Banks did? Because here's a movie that was a surprise hit. No one thought it was going to make that much money. You know, obviously they wanted to do well. It's doing way better, and they still haven't signed her on.
Well, but she's also a producer of the film, though. She wants to make herself the directing, and she might not want to do it. She might be really busy because she's like one of she came up with this. This is her property. So if she wants to direct it again, she's going to.
You think so?
I think so. For this, probably. Normally you're right, but also she can go in and bargaining chips. This is mine. I brought this to you. If she really wants to direct it, because I agree with you. I don't think she did a good job on the film, but
I don't think she did a horrible job. It was whatever.
It was fine.
Yeah.
But she could say, look how much money I made. It doesn't matter what they think or not, because this is her. She brought it to them. But overall, I think that she is just really busy. Maybe doesn't want to do it again. And she can do that Jordan last shot. You know, like hits the shot, walks off the court, and just produces it and is in it and hits her lines.
Yeah, I think she's too busy climbing over the barrels of money that are like surrounding her. Like she can't even. I can't direct this because I'm covered in $100 bills. She works a lot, man. Yeah, she's super busy as an actress. That she's producing this as well as she produced and directed this super giant hit, Pitch Perfect 2. That the other two main stars came back for the wheelbarrows of money that were just wheeled into their house. I mean, it's money, money, money. It's like Pitch Perfect made a ton of money. Pitch Perfect 2 made even way more money than anybody suspected. It beat Mad Max Fury Road. So it's a super giant hit. Why not make the third one? And anybody who's not in it is stupid.
So you guys are buying the return.
I'm buying it. Same reasons. You get those two the faces. Now I hope they're not the stars of the movie. I hope they kind of play like a legacy role to where they're, because if you want to keep making more of these, then you want to have a brand new cast to where they can mentor them throughout it, whether they're just working at the college or whatever they're doing. But it makes sense to pass the torch.
Sure.
Well, they'll probably make Haley Steinfeld the main character of the next one, and I don't think they got paid. These two didn't get paid that much for the first one, and they got paid a decent amount for the second one. But the third one, they definitely are getting paid.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them has landed their female lead. Inherent Vice's Katherine Waterson is set to join Academy Award winner Eddie Redmayne in the Harry Potter spinoff. The movie is set 70 years before the start of the Harry Potter series and follows Newt Scamander, played by Eddie Redmayne, on his journey to find and document magical creatures. Waterson will play Porpatina, a witch that meets Newt during his travels. David Yates, who directed the last 4 Harry Potters, is set to return to the franchise and direct the spin-off. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them opens in AMC theaters on November 18, 2016. Jeanette Byers saw the casting of Katherine Waterson.
I vaguely buy it because I vaguely remember Inherent Vice, and I did see the movie, but it was so incoherent. I just really, I was like, was she the lead or was she the second female lead, or who was she in the film?
I think she was the second female lead.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'll buy it because I think, I vaguely remember her being a good actress. I just can't remember any of the films that she's been in. So, but I buy all the rest of everything that's going on with the Beast. So, sounds good to me.
Christian?
Yeah, I buy it as well too, and because of having David Yates back and having his hand there, and with Eddie Redmayne. David Yates was pretty good at helping with casting last time and making sure he made a good movie. So you have to just support everything that this guy's doing right now. And I didn't like Inherent Vice, but I liked her in the film. So yeah, I love the casting. I think it's a buy.
It's a buy for me, but I'm actually one of the few people who liked Inherent Vice.
Oh, wow.
It kind of fell apart at the end, but the first half for me, I really liked, and she was good in it. I'm just wondering, she was also in Boardwalk Empire, and she played a Jack Huston, Richard Harrow Half-Face's sister. So things I've seen her in have all been kind of more adult, more mature type of movies or TV shows. And this is geared more towards kids or young adults. I just don't know how she fits into that, but I'm sure she'll do fine. Right. Yeah. All right, on to the mailbag, where we answer your viewer-submitted questions. Don't forget, you can email us at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Ashley, what do we got?
Amy writes, love the show. It inspires me to continue my passion for all things movies. As I left the movie theater for my third movie in one weekend, I realized how overwhelming being a movie reviewer can be, seeing movie after movie. I was curious to know, what are some of your processes when it comes to reviewing one film before entering another? Do you write out notes during, after, or none at all? Is it all pure reaction, or do you have a thought-gathering process? Thanks, and keep up the great work.
Christian, you review a lot of movies. Yeah. You take notes, or?
I don't take notes really, because what I think for Mark and our process for the last like 6-7 years is that it kind of benefits that we have the two of us, to where it's always been conversational. Yeah. So he might say something that has a point, and then I kind of react off that, or vice versa. But I always kind of gather my thoughts as I'm watching the movie, think about it, and whether it be a conversation I have with him after the movie or with someone else about the movie that I know has seen it, and then we like to shoot it kind of right away, so it is more of a conversation, like the same way like if we go to see a movie right now and we talk about it. That's what we like to capture on film. So that's like our initial review that we saw right away. I know other people do different. They take their notes. They work on a structured out review. That's just never been our style. So that's kind of how we do it.
Schnepp?
I go by the little man like keys from Double Indemnity, Little Man in My Gut. I don't write notes or anything like that, but I also don't like doing a review or talking about a film, especially like I experienced that doing our Avengers Age of Ultron. Like we immediately talked about it, like literally 25 minutes after seeing the film. And that what I like to do is I see a film and then I process it and think about it. And then the next day I feel like I can actually talk about it because I've been able to absorb it and think through it. My immediate gut reaction sometimes to a film like Avengers Age of Ultron, as an example, was like, oh my God, this was fantastic. And then a week later, a lot of the plot holes and inconsistencies started to seep in when I thought about seeing it again. I was like, do I want to see it again? So it'll, you know, what you really think about a film, it takes a little bit of time, just like films that came out 30 years ago that bombed are now classics. So, I mean, you know, the process of thinking about and criticizing or critiquing a film and talking about it and your opinion on a film, to me, it takes, for me, myself, at least a day to really think it through and then talk to someone else about it.
I also don't take any notes, and I'm with you where I don't like to do the review right after. Just certain situations, that's just what we have to do sometimes. But I actually prefer, like, you know, we get these press screenings sometimes. I actually like seeing like a movie like Mad Max I saw a week or two before, and then that way I can just enjoy the movie. I don't have to think about the review. I'm just taking it in.
Sure.
And then I watch it again right before we do the review, maybe the night before we do a spoilers. And that way, that time, I can kind of then mentally make notes. Okay, this is what I liked about the movie. This is what I didn't like. This is why this worked, why this didn't work. And that way, going into a review, I have, you know, I think I have a more thought out process. Because like what you said with Avengers Age of Ultron, just, you know, seeing it right or talking about it right after kind of hurts, I think, the review sometimes.
You're still high from the film.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like you're coming in, especially with the energy with the people that you're saying, for that movie in particular, the energy, the expectations of it. Yeah. And you almost, it's like the Phantom Menace. Not that movie is a Phantom Menace, but like to where that was so great. It was amazing because I finally got to see the movie I've been talking about forever. And then, like you say, you start talking about it, like, well, I forgot how stupid that was. Or I didn't even pay it. I forgot to talk about how great that was. So there's
all these moments that you need to gestate in your mind.
Normally, that's why Mark and I will most of the time shoot like the morning after, but depending on schedule and stuff too. It's sometimes night.
All right, what's next?
Adam B. writes, hey guys, I'm a bit late to the party, but the other night I watched 12 Years a Slave for the first time. Without a doubt, it deserved the Best Picture Oscar and many other accolades. But after it finished, I thought to myself, I really don't feel the need to watch that movie again. Maybe it was the subject matter or how harsh its actual depiction of slavery was. I've also felt this way about other bleak movies such as Prisoners and Foxcatcher, especially Foxcatcher. Have you ever felt this way with some movies?
Oh, for sure. And you named a couple of them. 12 Years a Slave, right after I was like, you know, that was a very powerful film. Don't think I'm ever going to see it again. Right. And same with Foxcatcher. You know, every time Steve Carell came on screen as DuPont, my skin crawled. I was like, man, that guy is so creepy. I do not want to see this movie again. A few others. Prisoners, on the other hand, I actually love that movie. So I've seen it more than once, and I probably will see it again. Wow, one that I will probably never see again, or maybe once, is Requiem for a Dream. It's just so disturbing, especially the end with the electroshock therapy with Ellen Burstyn. Another one I love, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. For me, it's very emotionally devastating, but people have different views on the ending. For me, I'm more cynical. You know, I feel like it's like talking about the cyclical nature of love and heartbreak, where some people thought it was like about hope and falling in love again. So I have a different version of it. I probably will watch it again because it's a brilliant film, but it's heartbreaking for me. Schnepp, what are some movies that you...
I'll jump off from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Is a film that is about the crushing weight of relationships and new relationships and the memories of old relationships. And it was a really great... I started dating Holly when we both saw that while getting out of other relationships. So it was such a weird, strange film to see. It was sort of like another film that's like Solaris. I was like, I feel kind of Solaris today. That was our go-to thing where it's like, it doesn't feel right. You know, my mind is all messed up, you know? So Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is definitely a film that I like seeing again. 12 Years a Slave was crushing. It crushed me mentally, and I felt like I got a tattoo on my brain It's such a powerful film, but I don't want to see it again. And there are a lot of films, like I was going to say Requiem for a Dream is another film that I did see twice. And the second time I saw it, I was like, I don't ever want to see this again, but I will always tell people to see it because it is a film that I think you should see, not only because it's so well directed and so well shot and thought out, but it's an emotionally moving film about the horror of addiction, the horror of drugs, and how certain drugs are told that they're good for us, and certain drugs are told that are bad for us, and what they do. So I mean, that's another film that's definitely crushing. So there's a whole bunch of films that exist that you should only see once. I always fall back on George Lucas saying, which I don't agree with him, but his thing about THX 1138 when he made it and afterwards, because it was a giant box office bomb, he said never make a film with a bummer ending. So I don't agree with him because a lot of the classics, look at Chinatown. That's got a bummer ending. No spoilers. I won't tell you what happens, but it's a classic, and I've seen that multiple times.
Christian?
I've seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind so many times.
I mean, it's a brilliant film.
But I can understand from that perspective, but I'm actually on the opposite perspective of it. So
you think it's a happy ending?
It's not necessarily a happy ending.
Or hopeful.
It is. For me, it's a matter of this is what relationships are. You got to go in, you got to dive in head first, and you could come out at the bad end. You could come out. It's a mess, but we love who we love. But echoing a lot of what you guys said, as far as 12 Years a Slave, Foxcatcher for sure, Requiem for a Dream, Schindler's List is always tough for me to watch as well, and The Road. The Road is one that is a tough one.
The Road is a tough one. I tried watching it again. It was on Netflix, and I didn't get through it because I remember really thinking it is a great film,
movie.
But you don't want to experience that kind of horror because if that's really what it's like, it's not exciting like Mad Max. Like, hey, we're in a car chase. It's just a bummer after bummer after bummer situation.
Depressing.
Depresso.
Right.
That's right.
And
Ashley, is there any movies that you've seen before that you thought I liked it, but I don't ever want to see it again?
I don't know how much I saw this so many years ago. I can't even recall if I liked it, but it was so cringeworthy, Precious. Like I watched it like this. It made me. It was heartbreaking. I could barely watch that movie.
Oh, speaking of cringeworthy, young adult for me. Like watching Charlize Theron's character do what she's trying to do, and it's not like she's trying to kill anyone or she's trying. It's so awkward. It makes me just like I can't sit through that.
Well, the other one for that going down that road is Tin Cup with Kevin Costner. I know it's a strange one out of all these, but like it's just if you haven't seen the end of that movie, it's just this guy. He's got this chance, and all he has to do is make this one decision, and he keeps making the same bad decision over and over again. You're like, no, I can't watch it. I can't. It's just if you know the movie, you know the scene I'm talking about. But those are the lighter out of the ones that we've talked about, and Son-in-Law.
All right, what's next?
James Walsh writes, hello AMC, and thank you for taking my question. What are some recent movies released in the past few years that you would consider one of the best films of all time?
I guess with the question we were talking about, like what do you consider recent and past few years? I mean, for me, honestly, Birdman is, I think, one of the best films ever made. I love that movie. And then if you kind of go back further, the last two that I can remember for me are There Will Be Blood and The Wrestler. Aronofsky's The Wrestler. If you go way back, City of God, that was, I think, 2003. What about you, Christian?
My list is different because I think it's more of like what I would want in my top 100 if I put in there movies that have come out in the last couple of years. And so if you disagree with me, I don't care. Inception is one that I love. Whiplash, Toy Story 3, Looper, The Dark Knight, Wolf of Wall Street, Django Unchained, and Warrior. Ones that I could watch over and over again. I thought were just movies that blew me away.
The one that's the most recent in my mind and it's fresh is Mad Max Fury Road. I was so impressed with it. I got a chance to see an early preview of it. And then I couldn't wait to see it again for all these months. Saw it again, like I think it was a week and a half ago. Still can't wait to see it again in the theater. It's such a fantastic cinematic masterpiece of action. I mean, look, and there's all different kinds of things that you look for in films. For this film, for Mad Max Fury Road, if you want to see something that's just complete and total thrilling action from beginning to end, which is like you're in a giant cinema, you're just taken in and you're on this crazy ride. For me, that was really, really fun. Films that I go back to all the time, I always watch Blade Runner at least once a year. And that's one of those films that it really makes me think about not only just the film, the science fiction setting of it, but our society, where we're at. There's just all these different things that it just sparks my imagination in all these different ways. So that's a film that I'll always watch, and I think that's one of the classics of all time.
I've seen Mad Max Fury Road 4 times now in the theater.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it. From an action standpoint, it's a masterpiece. So I'm with you there. All right, guys, that's it for today's show. I want to thank the people joining us on the panel. Schnepp, where can people find you?
You guys can find me just on Twitter and Instagram at John Schnepp and at TDOSLWH. Go to www.tdoslwh.com. You could pre-order my film, The Death of Superman Lives What Happened. It premieres July 9th at San Diego Comic-Con. If you're going to be there, I'll see you there.
Christian?
If you want to watch some of those reviews that we were just talking about, go to youtube.com/schmoesno. Subscribe there. We're trying to get to 200,000 subscribers before Comic-Con. And then Christian Harloff on both Twitter and Instagram.
And Ashley, where can people find you?
On Twitter and on Instagram at Ashley Mova. Happy Tuesday, guys.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero or on Instagram, Dennis.tzng, or on YouTube at ThinkHeroPro. I want to thank you guys for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to the AMC Theaters YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/AMC Theaters, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.